What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtery here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, Alabama just wrapped up their second scrimmage of fall camp. Kalen DeBoer obviously had his press conference right after that. So we're going to talk about some takeaways from Kalen DeBoer's press conference and some other takeaways that I've seen out there on social media as well. Before we get into that, though, if you guys are excited for the start of the season, we are, 2 weeks away now from Alabama football blessing our TVs yet again on Saturdays. If you're excited, if you are ready for the season to start, make sure you get down there and like today's video for me right now. All right, before we get into some of the takeaways, first up are the injuries here for the Crimson Tide. Nothing new in terms of who is actually injured. Jaeden Roberts and James Smith, two guys that did not participate in today's scrimmage. The big update here, though, is on Jaeden Roberts. Kalen DeBoer saying he does have a concussion. So, same thing with Jaeden Roberts. You know, all last season long, there was that in and out with Geno Vandermark, and it's starting to feel like that battle at left guard isn't even going to come into play anymore. The only thing I want in the world right now is for a healthy Jaeden Roberts this season, and unfortunately, it just has not happened. And with Jaeden Roberts consistently getting hurt, at this point, it seems to me like Geno Vandermark might be the right guard for Alabama for the most part this season, with Cam Dewberry there at that left guard spot. Because, look, at the end of the day, the best ability is availability. And if Jaeden Roberts cannot stay healthy for Alabama, he might end up being the odd man out along the offensive line. Kalen DeBoer did also say a lot of guys kind of are beat up right now, but that is expected when you want to go out there and have some of those physical practices early on, getting ready for the beginning of the season. So, the next couple of days, they're going to have off days for some of those guys to just focus on some of their recovery. I think he said Tuesday was going to be the next practice for them. But James Smith did not participate today either. Kalen DeBoer saying they're just slowly working him back. Don't really have too much concern about him being ready for the season. But these constant injuries for Jaeden Roberts, man, it really, really does make me worried. So let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. Are you worried about Jaeden Roberts' ability to stay healthy? Type Y for yes or N for no down at the pinned comment of today's video. Really does make me nervous that all last year Jaeden Roberts was kind of in and out of the lineup, and now early on in fall practice, the same kind of thing is happening. So let me know how you guys feel down in the comment section of today's video. All right, the first takeaway of today's practice isn't really a takeaway, but I think it is kind of notable here. It was a later practice. You know, they usually have practice in these scrimmages earlier in the morning. They usually get done around like 11 o'clock Central Time. They started today at 1 p.m. Central Time, so they kind of wanted to mimic / simulate that 2:30 kickoff heat that they're going to have down in Tallahassee. And I would assume at this point, most of these guys are pretty used to the heat by now, no matter what time of day it is. But it doesn't really hurt to just have those guys, go through practice at the same time that they're going to be playing. It was a little bit earlier, but, tomato, there's not really much of a difference between 1 o'clock and 2:30. It's going to be hot down there in the South. Our second takeaway here is about the special teams. A couple of updates about the special teams here. Kalen DeBoer talking about some of the punters, the kicking opportunities there, and also, kick return and punt return. He did mention that Blake Dowd was actually one of the more consistent guys at that punter spot. You obviously have your scholarship guys, Alex Asperoff, but he is a freshman, and he was out for all of spring practice. So if Blake Dowd is that guy, the transfer from Colorado School of Mines, I would probably be pretty okay with that. He was really, really impressive when he was there. So Blake Dowd might have an opportunity to become your punter this season. And then one thing that really made me nervous was listening to Kalen DeBoer talk about Connor Talty. He said he missed a couple of field goals today around that 38 to 44-yard range. Now, he did say he was a little bit better in the indoor a couple of days ago and throughout practice, but the majority of Alabama games this year are going to be outside. You're going to have to be able to perform, and Kalen DeBoer did not sound very confident when talking about Connor Talty, and that scares the ever-living hell out of me because our history with field goal kickers has just not been very good. It was the past couple of seasons, but before that, Alabama fans definitely are a bit traumatized at that position. And then in terms of kickoff return and punt return, he said Cole Adams was a guy that either one, he could do that. Jaeden Roberts had them back there. Rico Scott was also a guy that he mentioned at that kickoff return. So if I would assume, the first game of the season, I would think kickoff return, you're probably going to have Cole Adams and Rico Scott back there. We'll see about Jaeden Roberts. I think getting his playmaking ability on the field would be a good thing, whether that's on kickoff or punt return. I think that would be a good thing for Alabama. He did also mention Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard as options at that punt return spot, but with those guys being your top two wide receivers, I wouldn't assume that they would put them back there. I think it's probably either going to be Cole Adams or Jaeden Roberts. So let me know down in the comments section yet again, are you guys worried about the field goal unit? How worried are you? Scale it for me 1 to 10. Down in the comments section, 1, you're not worried at all. 10, you are kind of like me and you are freaking out right now. Let me know how you guys feel about the kicking unit. Let me know down in the comments section. All right, next takeaway here is on the quarterbacks. It seemed like Ty Simpson, yet again, had another really good day for Alabama. Kalen DeBoer said he was executing very well. He's been steady, and he used his feet yet again today. Said he had a higher completion percentage this week than he did last week, but there wasn't necessarily as many explosives, which is really fine at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter. You can take what the defense gives you. I look back to, one of my favorite quotes from Tom Brady. He was talking, I believe he was on Colin Cowherd's show, and he was talking about what made him so good as a quarterback, and it was the fact that he never snapped the ball unless he knew what the defense was going to do and where he was going to go with the football immediately after he snapped it. You don't have to hit big plays every single time. You can dink and dunk all the way down the field if you have to, and it sounds like Ty Simpson has been willing to do that. Now, I do want to make note, I believe it was Brody Schmoot of Crimson Coverage put this tweet out earlier as well, just some takeaways about Ty Simpson and his performance today. He said Ty Simpson connected with Ryan Williams for a 25-yard touchdown. He also ran for about 50 yards on the day, including a 30-yard touchdown run. So I keep going back to this exact same thing. I think a lot of people are really underestimating Ty Simpson's ability to, scramble and use his athleticism. I continue to have that take. I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised how athletic Ty Simpson is. I think those Mac Jones comps are just going to go right out the window. All right, we'll continue with some more takeaways here in just a second. But first, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get set up with your Alabama jerseys today just by going to chatsports.com/Alabama jersey. You can get the crimson jerseys. You can get the red jerseys. You can do customizable jerseys. You get jerseys from past players, some of those alumni, or you can get some current players like Ty Simpson, your starting quarterback today, just by going to chatsports.com/Alabama jersey. I'll put that link down at the pinned comment of today's video, as well as the third paragraph of the description of today's video as well. All right, my fourth takeaway from Kalen DeBoer's press conference here was it seems like the offensive line is playing really, really well right now, especially in pass protection. Kalen DeBoer said they have been very consistent and very solid, and the quarterbacks, because they've been very good in pass protection, are just more comfortable back there, in the pocket, and that is a very, very refreshing thing to hear after the past, 3-4 seasons now. The offensive line has just kind of been up and down. You remember Bryce Young got sacked 50 times or something like that a couple of seasons ago. And I do wonder how much of that has to do with the quarterback's understanding of what the defense is actually doing as well. You saw so many times last year where you would see Jalen look like he would audible the play or shift the protection one way, and then the blitz actually came from the other direction. So I wonder how much it has to do with that, and I wonder how much it has to do with these guys just being better this season than they were a year ago. It seems like Wilkin Formby has also had a really good, spring and then summer and then fall camp as well. Caden Proctor is pretty healthy, it seems like, right now. And, with those injuries right now to Jaeden Roberts, I don't see that left guard battle really being a position battle right now anymore. I would assume with the amount of time that Jaeden Roberts is missing, Cam Dewberry is going to be there at left guard, and I would assume Gino Vandermark is going to be there at right guard as well. So, we'll see what happens on that front, but I'm kind of starting to shift to the reality that Gino Vandermark is probably going to be your starting right guard on week 1. So let me know down in the comments section who plays more snaps in 2025, probably at that right guard spot. Type GV if you think it's going to be Gino Vandermark, or type JR if you think it's going to be Jaeden Roberts. All right, my last takeaway today, it seems like the defensive backs are really just, having a really, really good, fall camp right now for Alabama. Kalen DeBoer said that there was really only one ball that may or may not have been an interception. He said in a real game that probably would have went to review, but just for practice sake, they ended up calling it a interception there. And I did also see Clint Lamb over on Twitter tweeted that he had heard multiple people tell him that Dejon Lee had a really, really good day today as well. So definitely go over to Cover Crimson's YouTube page and check out what Clint has heard about Alabama's second scrimmage there as well. But, this is right on par for all the buzz we have been hearing about Dejon Lee back there. He is going to make it really, really hard for Kane Womack to not play him this season. Kalen DeBoer also mentioned that, the tackling from the cornerbacks has been really, really impressive. And, corner can be one of those positions where you have some divas back there that don't want to tackle, and seems like these guys have been very, very physical back there. They want to hit you, and that is a very, very nice thing to hear. So we'll continue to see how those defensive backs play, and we'll see if Dejon Lee or a guy like Cam Calhoun can be a guy that worked themselves into that starting lineup for the Crimson Tide this season. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We'll be live for every single Alabama football game, and we'll continue to update you guys on all things Crimson Tide news.